Okay. Rolling on the Lamed. Amar Rab Yeshua Bar Abba, Amar Rav Gidla Marav. It's maybe 10 lines from the top. Lamed Amar Aleph 30a. Thank Hashem. We're able to learn Torah every day. It's of our learning. We should have the basic Mikdash immediately. It starts like this. It's in the name of Rav. Amar Rab Yeshua Bar Abba, Amar Rav Gidl Amar Rav. Yeshua Bar Abba is going to speak again soon also. It says in the name of Rav Gidl Amar Rav. Shmeina Pesukim Shebetayra. The last 8 psukim in the Torah, in the end of V'zayis Bracha, the last parsha, the last 8 psukim, it says that Moshe Rabbeinu dies. So he says, Yachid Kairei Sameh Beis HaKnesses. Normally, you can make an aliyah every 3 psukim. You could add, so someone else could get an aliyah. But over here, these 8 psukim, you're not allowed to interrupt. The one concept, you don't, you read from there to the end. Come on. But which opinion does this follow? I say the like Reb Shimon. It doesn't follow the opinion of Reb Shimon. Tanya was taught in a brisa. Vayamas Shem Moshe Ebed Hashem says that Moshe, the servant of Hashem, died, passed away. Efshem Moshe Chai v'kasav Yom Shem Moshe. It says, how is that possible that Moshe wrote this? Could he be writing? Could he be alive, writing that he died? How could he be alive? How could it have happened? You can't write it after he passed away. You must be writing it while he's alive. Ala'ad kan kasav Moshe, mikan ve'elach kasav Yeshua ben Nun, div Rabbi Yehuda. Yehuda, which is Rabbi Yehuda Rabbi Loi, student of Rabbi Akiva, he says that actually these 8 psukim were not written by Moshe. These 8 psukim were written by Yeshua. Okay, that would make sense. Problem is, some say that it was Reb Nechemia that said this. Problem is, Reb Shimon, Efshir Sefer Torah Chasrei Sachas, Ksiv Lakoyach Sefer Torah Zev Samtem Moshe V'Gaimer. Is it possible that the Sefer Torah is missing letters, 8 psukim to be exact, and Moshe Rabbeinu says, and it says, take this. Moshe Rabbeinu says, take the Sefer Torah and place it, I guess next to the Aron. And take the Sefer Torah. It's not a Sefer Torah, it's missing letters. While Moshe Rabbeinu was alive, it wasn't even a valid Sefer Torah. It wasn't complete until Yeshua finished it. How can Moshe Rabbeinu talk about it that it's as if it's a Sefer Torah? Rather, normally what happened was the Eibishter would dictate. It's actually supposed to be Moshe Omer B'Kaisev. Moshe would repeat what was dictated and write it. Make sure he got it correct, so he would repeat it. And also write. From here and on, these 8 psukim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu Omer, Moshe Kaisev B'Dema. Hashem would dictate, but Moshe wouldn't repeat it because it was talking about his own death. He didn't repeat it, he just wrote it with tears. Yeah. Now, what does it mean he wrote it with tears? Does it mean that instead of ink he used tears? Does it mean he wrote it with ink when he was crying? Yeah. Okay. So it must mean he wrote it with ink. Okay. As it says in Lahalan, it calls Yirmiyah. It says in Yirmiyah, "Vayirmalam Baruch mi piv yikra alayas kol dvar meila v'ani kaisev al sefer v'diyai." Yirmiyah lahem Baruch said to them, "From my mouth, he read to me all of these things, and I wrote it with ink. In other words, I didn't repeat it because it was referring to the kinnis. Baruch was the scribe of Yirmiyah Navi. Because it was referring to the kinnis, to the lamentations, so he didn't want to repeat it. So therefore, he just wrote it without repeating it. Normally, when something's being dictated, you recite, you repeat it as well. Yeah. So, Kasha over here is the Lake Reb Shimon. It seems like it doesn't fit with Reb Shimon because Reb Shimon says that it had to be written by Moshe Rabbeinu. And why should we have a different halacha about these psukim if it's regular psukim? Moshe Rabbeinu wrote it. Why are we saying that? He can't divide it up. It's regular psukim. The Gemara says, actually, afilu tamer Reb Shimon. It could actually be Reb Shimon. Because there was something different about it. So that difference, the way that it was dictated, that would change the halacha as well regarding the way we divide up the aliyahs. So we won't divide the aliyahs in the middle of these 8 psukim. That's one statement from Rabbi Yeshua bar Abba, Amar of Gidl Amar Rav. Next statement. Amar Rabbi Yeshua bar Abba, Amar of Gidl Amar Rav. Another statement. Halakiach Sefer Torah min hashuk. Chaytef mitzvah min hashuk. If someone buys a Sefer Torah, then it's like he snatched the mitzvah. It means he did a mitzvah, but he didn't do it. He did it like in a quick way. Snatched it. Didn't do it like in a pleasant, in a calm way. Kasvu, but let's say he wrote a Sefer Torah, that's a different story. Then that's as if Hashem considers it, the Pasuk considers it as if he received the Torah from Mount Sinai, that he wrote it. Yeah, Amar of Sheshas. Right. 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 The Kesses HaSefer, which is the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, Shlomo Ganzfried, he wrote on Hilchas Stam. It's called the Kesses HaSefer. It's the classic sefer for sefer, and he made his own Sefer Torah. He slaughtered the animal. He made the parchment. He did the whole thing from scratch to finish. Wanted to do the mitzvah, so he did it the whole thing. Okay. Yeah. Amar of Sheshas. Sheshas says, "Migia filo isachas mala alav kilo kasved." That if you edit, if you correct even one letter, this apostle Sefer Torah, and you correct it, it's as if you wrote a Sefer Torah. Yeah. Yeah, Ramesh, it's a big schos. It's as if every time you fix a Sefer Torah, it's as if you kibla me'ar Sinai.
What do you think I tell everyone where I go?
You learned this, Gemara? Okay. Dana Rabbanan, starting the Brisa. Aisa Adam Yuriya Mibas Shalish Dafen Va'ad Bas Shmeina Dafen. A person can make a column, not a column, sorry, a piece of parchment, because you have to, it's multiple pieces of parchment in the Sefer Torah. So on every piece, so you could make on it how many dafin, how many columns? You can make 3 to 8. Don't make less than 3 per piece of parchment, because every piece of parchment has to be sewed together with the other ones. If they're very thin and you sew them, it looks like patch. It looks like a patch. It's a bunch of pieces. And too long is a problem also. I'm not sure what's wrong with too long. Not sure. Okay. Don't make the columns too thin. Nationary geras, because that's going to look like a letter. See, you're allowed to make 8 columns in a urea. Urea is the piece of parchment. Don't make them too thin, And too thin, it's going to look like a letter. I guess that's how they would write a letter. I thought they wrote a letter like a scroll, that you would read it downwards.
Would it be like instead of this too wide, then
That we didn't do yet. That's coming up next. That's the next piece. Here, don't make them too thin. Don't make them too thin. Don't make too many columns, because then it's going to look like a letter. Too many columns means that each column is going to be too thin. Don't make the columns too small. Don't minimize the amount of columns you have, because then your eyes won't be able to follow the lines. Because you have very long lines, it's hard, like the long Tosfos, and it's hard. You need like a ruler to be able to get to the next line, because you can't follow it. It's so long. Go back. You don't know if you're restarting the same line or you're going back. Yeah, that makes sense. Gimel Pamim. Leave that out. It's rather what you do is, how many letters is Lemishpei Sechem? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 letters. You make this word with 10 letters 3 times. So 3 words of 10 letters each, and then there's a letter in between each one. But that should be the width of the column, about 32 letters. Space of 32 letters. About. Yeah, that's how long the column should be. Look, it fits on our Daf Gemara exactly. They did it perfectly. You see, do you have a traditional Gemara? Exactly. That's how big the column should be. Let's say it turned out that the piece of parchment has 9 columns. Don't divide it 3 and 6. Try to make it as even as possible. 4 and 5 instead of 3 and 6. When do we say that this is significant? That you can't have a small amount of columns, can't have a large amount of columns. That's betchilas hasefer. That's in the beginning of the Sefer Torah. Aval b'seifa sefer, but at the end of the Sefer Torah, filu pasuk echad, filu daf echad. You can even have a column of 1 pasuk. You can even have a urea of one column. Gemara says pasuk echad sal kadaita. Really? You have a column? You have a whole thing of 1 pasuk? It says alaim of pasuk echad b'daf echad. Rather, what you do is you can have 1 pasuk on one daf. What you would do is, in order, because you want to finish at the bottom line. Remember, we said not to finish in the middle of the column. Leini kol Yisrael. So what you do is you write 1 word per line, and that way you can finish on the bottom. Pasuk echad b'daf echad. So you end up with Leini kol Yisrael on the bottom. So you stretch it out. You stretch out the words until it comes to the bottom. Yeah, that's what they do on kids' books. They do like 1 word per page. They pay them per page. So they do 1 word per page. As you get paid per line, so they do 1 word per line. So, okay. Shir Gillian. What's the margin? How big should the margin be on a Sefer Torah? Milmata tefach. The bottom margin should be a tefach. That's like 4 inches, 3 inches. Milmaila gimel etzbais. On the top, it should be a little bit less than that, 3 fingers. Tefach is 4 fingers. This is 3 fingers. So the top margin is smaller than the bottom margin. Bein daf l'daf. What's the margin in between each column? Malai revach shtei etzbais. 2 fingers between each column. B'chumashim, if you're using not a Sefer Torah, if it's a chumash, Malmata, then the bottom margin is shalish etzbais, is only 3 fingers. Malmaila shtei etzbais, it could be smaller than the margin of an actual Sefer Torah. On top, it's 2 fingers. Bein daf l'daf in a chumash. What's between the columns? Kamalei revach reichav gudel. Kamalei revach gudel, like a thumb, which is larger than a finger, but it's not 2 fingers. Bein shita l'shita. What about between each line? Kamalei shita. You have the in between each line is the amount of a line. So it's spaced. One single spaced. Yeah. Bein teva l'teva, between each word. Malayas Katana. Should be like a small letter, like a Yud. A nice slice. How much space should be between each letter? Malay Chotasaira, like the width of a hair. It's very close. That's very tough to write like that. Unless you get it close and you're using a quill. So there's a little bit of movement in the ink. It's not perfect. Unless you're very careful with them. Like a hair's breadth. All you might at the Maseches when they price Sifrei Torah or Tefillin, they look for all of these details. They say like, well, how nice is the Ksav? Of course, you look at how symmetrical it is and how nice the letters are and all of that. They also look at how close the letters are together. If it's the spacing is perfectly halachic. It's all you might on the Masaksav, lemipnei revach shel matav, lemipnei revach shel maila, lemipnei revach ben shita l'shita. Person shouldn't change the font. Shouldn't change the size of the letter, size of letters, because he wants to have a better margin on the top or a better margin on the bottom, or because he wants between the lines, he wants it to be better. Or because of between parsha la parsha, he needs to leave a space. You shouldn't change the font because of that. Rather, but again, it's supposed to do. I'm not sure. But let's say you have a word that has 5 letters, and you came to the end of a line. Don't write 2 within the margin and 3 outside the margin. 5 letters. Rather, that's acceptable. To have 3 in the margin, the majority of the word is in the margin, and 2 letters hanging out, that's okay. If you have a word that's 2 letters, like let's say l'cha, something, la, loy, bach, bam, v'dibarta bam, right? You have a word of 2 letters. Even though we said that 2 letters between the columns is okay, but not an entire word of 2 letters. After that, go to the next line. It's only if you had 3, if the word had 5 letters, 3 were in 2 out, that's acceptable. Rather, you go to the next line and you write it there. Okay, here goes the big sugya.
I'll take break the word, put 2 letters here now.
No, you don't break a word. In English, you can put a hyphen and put the word on the next line. You don't do that, right, Ramesha? We never break up a word. Put the rest of the word on the next line.
Hey.
I tell you, b'shem, someone made a mistake in the name of Hashem. Sounds like over here that he forgot to write it. So, Geiris Mashakasav. What you'll need to do is erase what you did write, B'toilas Mashagara, and you'll put the erasure, what was erased. You put that between the columns. That's Toila. Because of Hashem al Makam Agar, and you write Hashem's name on the part that was scratched off. Was erased. That's Rabbi Yehuda's opinion. Rabbi Yesi says, Af Tailan Hashem. You can even put Hashem's name between the columns. It's not a problem. Rabbi Yitzchak says, you have another option. There's 2 ways of erasing. If you wait till it dries, the ink dries, and you can erase it, it comes off cleaner. It looks more white. If you erase it while it's wet, you just start rubbing it, so you get smudged.
This is all theoretical.
Yeah, all theoretical. Then it looks smudged, but nevertheless, you can still write on that, but it doesn't look as clean. Once it dries, you can sort of like maybe catch the whole thing, catch the whole letter. Over here, it's going to be smudged. So Rabbi Yitzchak says, you can write Hashem's name even after it was erased while it was wet. Rabbi Shimon Shazuri Yaimer, here's the important name that we're going to have for this page, and the next page is Rabbi Shimon Shazuri. He says, Kol Hashem Kulai Thailand. If it's the entire name of Hashem, that's between the columns, so then that's acceptable. However, Miktasi ain't telling, but you don't leave it dangling, half of it in the column and half out of the column. That's not respectable. Reb Shimon ben Elazar, I remember Mishum Reb Meir, Ein Kaisron Hashem Le'amakam Agarav Le'amakam Mechet Vein Tailan. I say, Reb Shimon ben Elazar says the name of Reb Meir. Reb Meir was a sefer, right? We know Reb Meir was a sefer. He says the name of Reb Meir. What's interesting that Reb Shimon ben Elazar, Mishum Reb Meir. I thought he was a Talmud of Reb Meir. We have Rabbi Tarfon.
It says that he was a fourth generation. I think that's like a big gap. The repertoire.
Are you saying Reb Shimon ben Elazar is a student of Reb Tarfon?
No.
Who's a student of Reb Tarfon?
The new rabbi.
Reb Shimon Shazuri is in the place where he lived. He was a disciple of Reb Tarfon. That's fine. No, that's fine. Reb Tarfon was in that generation of the Rabbi Akiva. Why? These are all students of Rabbi Akiva, same contemporaries. Right. Right. Yeah, that's fine. This is all contemporaries.
Rabbi Rav Shimon ben Menachos was Rav Meir's student. I don't know if that's who you're thinking of.
Maybe. How do you get that information? How do you know? Is there a Rambam here?
ChatGTP.
Be a Rambam here.
Rabbi, it's in my little paperback, Siyata L'Gemara.
Oh, that's yeah.
ChatGTP.
Just 1 second. The Chaver Shel Reb Meir, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yisrael Shimon Nechemia, Blessed Rabbi. Thank to the Chaver Shel Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Blessed Gadol. Chaver Shel Rabbi Akiva, him Reb Tarfon, Rabbi Shel Rabbi Aglili, Reb Shimon ben Elazar. Oh, so he's a friend. Reb Shimon ben Elazar is a friend of Rabbi Akiva. No. Now, how does he say in the name of Reb Meir, who's younger than him? I don't know. Yeah. Yitzi's asking Chaim to.
Do you have anything to say about this?
Come to the
table.
Okay. Reb Shimon ben Elazar says the name of Reb Meir. In Kaisvin as a shame, Leil Makam Agarav, Leil Makam Amechak, in Thailand, I say. He has the. It's interesting. I don't see that this is the halacha, but it looks. They're not putting the halacha symbol on this. It says that you don't write the name not on a place where it was scratched out, not on a place where it was erased when it was wet. The main telling us you also can't hang it between the columns. Ketzad says, what should you do? Yeah, Masala Kasirya Kula V'Gainza, you remove the entire parchment. You put that in Shemus and you have to redo the parchment. Are you allowed to cut out a word or a line, glue a piece of parchment behind it, and just write on that piece of parchment, like a little patch? Otherwise, or do you have to do a whole column? You have to take out a whole piece. You just attach, do one thing. Because for Hashem's name, there's all these difficulties. You can patch it, you can cut out a piece and glue a piece on.
Not if you want top dollar.
Okay. Itmar.
What Moshe said that
That's coming up. That's right. Yeah. Patience, hello, patience.
Patience, baby, in the gas.
Itmar was stated. Rav Chananel Amarav, Rav Chananel in the name of Rav Halacha. What's the halacha? Teila Nes Hashem. That you can let the name of Hashem hang in between the columns. Which opinion was that? That was Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi said it's okay to put Hashem's name between the columns. Rabbi Bar Bachana Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Shmuel halacha moichik v'keisev. Rabbi Bar Bachana says the name of Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Shmuel that the halacha is that you can erase and write. That means erase even when it's wet. And that's like Rabbi Yitzchak said. The Gemara asks, why aren't they saying that I paskin like this opinion, I paskin like Rabbi Yossi, I paskin like Rabbi Yitzchak? Why are they repeating the whole halacha if it's already a machlaikas? Just say, I go like this opinion, I go like that opinion. The Gemara says, Misham da'afchilahu, because they didn't want to do that, because the opinions and the authors of each opinion are switched in different places. So if they would just say who they paskin like, we may not actually know what the halacha is, because we don't have it clear who said what. So they said what the halacha is, and they left out the names because the names would confuse you. Amar Ravin Bar Chinana, Amar Ula, Amar Rab Chanina, halacha to Rab Shimon Shazuri. Ravin Bar Chinana says the name of Ula. Ula was the traveler. He says the name of Rab Chanina, who was a first generation Amayra in Eretz Yisrael, Rab Chanina Bar Chama. He's a teacher of Rabbi Yochanan, a student of Rebbe. He says that halacha Rab Shimon Shazuri, the halacha is Rab Shimon Shazuri. Not only that, Rab Shimon Shazuri, halacha kamaise, that wherever we have Rab Shimon Shazuri, the halacha is always like him. Hey, Gemara asks, when you said the halacha like Rab Shimon Shazuri, not only that, but everywhere the halacha like Rab Shimon, which one were you referring to when you said the halacha like Rab Shimon Shazuri? This is an interesting Gemara because it seems like it shouldn't matter which one he's referring to, because if the halacha is always like Rab Shimon Shazuri, it's always like. But which one are you referring to? Ilema. Aha. Maybe you're speaking about the one that we just said. Reb Shimon Shazuri Mikol Kulei Teilen Miktsasi Teilen. That the entire name of Hashem you're allowed to put between the line, in the margin. But you're not allowed to put part of the name of Hashem in the margin. That was Reb Shimon Shazuri's opinion. V'itmar Allah. The problem is we have a statement. Amar Rab Chanan Amar Rav Halacha Teilen Es Hashem. We have an opinion of Rav that says that you are allowed to put it in the Rabbi Bar Bachana Bar Yitzchak Mishmal Lachem Meichik V'Keisev, that you're allowed to erase. B'im Isa, and if the halacha is like Reb Shimon Shazuri, according to Rab Chanina, so why doesn't it go like this? Why doesn't it say Amar Rab Chanana Amar Rav Teilen Es Hashem, Rabbi Bar Bachana Bar Yitzchak Shazuri Meichik Es Hashem? And Rab Chanina says that halacha Rab Shimon Shazuri that miktsasei this and kulei whatever. Kolashim kulei Thailand, miktsasei in Thailand. If you have a list of different opinions, and this is what Rab Chanina was talking about, Ula in the name of Rab Chanina, so put it together with the list. It must be he wasn't talking about this case. Let him say his opinion together with everyone else is saying their opinion, what the halacha is like. Elaha must be that when we said the halacha is like Reb Shimon Shazuri, we were talking about a different story. Shimon Shazuri, Aimer.
The aha moment.
Aha. He's saying aha. Aha.
We put a buzzer on.
Shimon Shazuri, Aimer. And Chamesh Shana, you don't lose concentration here, Dr. Stein. This is very important Gemara. This is very important Gemara. Don't lose concentration here.
Focus.
The Shimon Shazuri Aimer, Afilu ben Chamesh Shanim. I have to go back and read something. It says whether 4 years or 5 years. I'll go back in a minute. It's corrected over here to 4 or 5 in the sheet in the plets. The chayrish besada, and it's even if it's an animal, it's 4 or 5 years old and it's plowing in the field. Shchita simim metarete. Its mother's shchita permits it. Ben pekua. I'm telling Dr. Stein, you have to pay attention. This is the ben pekua. Ben Pakua. There could be even plowing in the field. And, oh, wow. Look who the wind blew in.
Yeah.
David's here. Okay. It's been a while. Very nice. So,
yesterday.
huh? So, and it says on this, Allah, 1 second. This is Reb Shimon Shazuri's opinion, that you can have a Ben Pakua, that the mother would check that the baby is born after the shechita, right? They take it out from the carcass. They take out the live baby, live fetus. Take that out, and then you could eat it without shechita. But the problem is that if this is the one that where they said Allah like Reb Shimon Shazuri, that it says Amar Zeiri Amar Reb Chanina Allah Reb Shimon Shazuri. Zeiri says in the name of Reb Chanina Allah is like Shimon Shazuri. V'misa, and if it's true that Ula also said it, so Hunami Lema, why don't you put it together? That's the way this Gemara is going to work. It says, why don't we have Ula in the name of Reb Chanina as well? I just want to go back to one point before we go further. There's a Shita Mechubetzes here in Bays. But 1 second, I didn't say what he says. It says B'tikun Seifrim. Someone makes a mistake in Hashem's name, cannot write it at all outside the sirtat. And if someone is in the middle of writing Hashem's name, even if the king asks him how he's doing, he's not allowed to stop until he finishes writing Hashem's name. He has to finish the entire name of Hashem with one dip in ink. You're not allowed to interrupt to dip in ink again. If he did have to dip in ink because it ran out, then you shouldn't dip the ink into the bowl of ink, into the inkwell. Rather, you should dip the ink in a letter that's still wet, a chol letter, not a Hashem's name. And okay, and let's say he made a mistake and he skipped Hashem's name. You can't put it hanging between the columns. Rather, you should write it you can't put it on the side because then it will be out of order. Rather, you should better to write it between the lines, and it will be read in order. If he skipped Hashem's name at the end of the line, it's not a problem to edit it, to put it between the columns, because that will still be read in order, as long as you don't have columns, one edit on top of another edit. Shouldn't have that. Then he quotes the Yerushalmi. If someone makes a mistake in a line, so then he can erase the line. Yeah. Okay, he goes to this thing. And he says, found in Tikkun Seifrim, which I assume is the book that the Seifrim use, it says that a column should be made out of 70 lines corresponding to the 70 elders. Some say the column should be 42 lines corresponding to the 42 travels that the Jewish people traveled in the desert. They came to Israel. I'm sorry? In the Anabukah. In the Anabukah, yeah. Right. And some people are careful not to write Hashem's name at the end of the line. It's very interesting, all of these like details that aren't in the Gemara, but it's in this Tikkun Seifrim. Okay. Back to Reb Shimon Shazuri. We're looking for where we said that Allah is like Reb Shimon Shazuri. So it's not on. It wasn't about the Ben Pakua. So let's say Ela Aha. It must have been about the following. Originally, they said that if someone is being taken out with a collar, it means he's being taken out to be killed by the government or something, and he says, write a divorce document to my wife. He doesn't want his wife to have to go to do yibam his brother, who's maybe just a child. You have to wait till he's 13. It'll be 13 years that she'll be waiting. So he says, write a get to my wife. So yeah, that's very considerate. So then, even though he didn't say to give it, but we still understand that that's what he meant, and we'll give it because we know he's dying. Because otherwise, people could say that they want to get written because they're in a fight, and they just want to have it ready in case things go from bad to worse. But it doesn't mean that he wanted to divorce her. So to give it without his permission is a big chiddush. We're saying no. Over here, we assume that that's what he meant. And then they said afterwards, the same thing would be that someone is on his way to catch the boat, the train, the caravan. He's also he's in a rush and he's already says, write a get for my wife. He also means that it's supposed to be given. Even someone that's ill. Also, he says, write a get for my wife. He wants it to be given, even though he didn't say give it. We assume that's what he meant.
You get better all of a sudden.
Inami, maybe it's a
He can
sigul.
always remarry
It's a sigul.
his wife.
Yeah, unless he's a kayan.
You're saying all of a sudden you get better. Different disposition.
She didn't marry in the interim.
For a second wife, she's okay.
Right.
You'll never. I knew a story like this, someone dying from the big treatment. He was worried that he could end up in a state
Where he won't be able to.
So he wrote his wife again.
Right.
Coming to this was 40 years ago. Kind of remembers. This was not Kobe. Kobe
So-
to Lucy.
You put that comment.
So, maybe. So we're thinking that inami. Maybe it could be Reb Shimon Shazuri. The halach like Reb Shimon Shazuri is in the following case. Chumas meiser shel demai shechasr limkaima. Let's say you have chumas meiser. This is the you take meiser, take 1/10, and then you give it to the Levi. Levi takes 1/10 of the 10th, and he gives that to the kayan. That's chumas meiser. It becomes like holy. It's truma. But we're talking about here that it's demai. Demai means that we're not sure it's already been taken. Could be it's been taken already. Only thing is, the person that we bought it from wasn't so trusted. He was Amaretz. We don't know if he actually took it. So we do it just to be safe. It's called demai. Do it just to be safe. The tithing, yeah. So the problem is that it fell back into the pile. Now you can't eat anything in the pile because you tried to fix it. You ended up, you messed up everything. Everything fell back in. Trafed up the whole thing. Not trafed, you demide up the whole thing. That was called dimua. It's a mixture. It's a problem. So, Reb Shimon Shazuri Eimer, af b'chol she'el le'veichel piv. Now, there are certain times when you can actually ask the person, did you tithe? And you could eat it. Like on Shabbos, you can ask him. And you can trust him. So over here, Reb Shimon Shazuri says that you can even ask him over here to fix up all the chulin that got messed up, all the regular food that got messed up because it fell back in. You can ask him and you could rely on him. You could trust him. Okay. The problem is like this. You say that's where we said the Allah is like Reb Shimon Shazuri, but we have other statements about the halacha being like Reb Shimon Shazuri. Bitmar alam Rabbi Yochanan halacha Reb Shimon Shazuri b'mesukan and b'chumas ma'is shel demai. Rabbi Yochanan says halacha is like Reb Shimon Shazuri. We should have said Ula also says Rabbi Chanina says v'misa hunami lema. Why don't we say also that Rabbi Yochanan says and Ula says? Just put it all together. It must be that it was a different case. Elaha must be a different case. Rabbi Yesi ben Kippur Aimer Mishum Reb Shimon Shazuri. Rabbi Yesi ben Kippur, he says in the name of Reb Shimon Shazuri, Pulamitchi Cesar Lazera. You have this Egyptian bean that was planted because you need to use this for seed, for planting. See, if you planted it because you would need it as a vegetable, then the question is like this. Hishrish lifnei Rosh Hashanah, miktsasai achar Rosh Hashanah. I'm sorry. Miktsasai hishrish lifnei Rosh Hashanah, miktsasai achar Rosh Hashanah. Ein tam mizel zeh. If it took root, some of it before Rosh Hashanah and some after Rosh Hashanah, then some is considered last year's and some is considered this year's. But this is only if you planted it for seed. wanted to grow this. And you're growing these beans to be able to replant, right? You're a seed provider. You're not selling it to the market for people to eat. You're selling it to the farmers to plant. But if you're selling it for people to eat, if you planted it as a vegetable, then it goes after the lakita when you harvest it, not after when it took root. Depends what you're selling it for, what your intention was. It changes what year it is. The problem is that when it comes to chumas and maisis, you have to do from that year's crop and that year's crop. Here, half of it grew before, half of it grew after. So how do you take chumas and maisis on this? So it's all mixed up, all in one thing. So it says like this. In termin mizelza, you can't take truma from this side of the field to that side of the field because they took root at different off on the other side of the demarcation line, right? And if you say in term, you can't take trumas and maises from the old on the new and the new on the old. Ketzid yasis, what should he do? Tzayver grana l'taychay. Do is he mix the whole thing together evenly. If you make a perfect mixture, then when you take the chumas ma'asers in the bucket that you use to lift it up, in there is exactly the right proportion of the rest of it. You say the new grain should be taking chumas ma'asers on the new grain, and the old grain that's in this mixture should be chumas ma'asers on the old grain, right? Because he mixed it evenly. What's the problem?
It sounds like, doing something that should be okay with the Eved, but you're doing it lechatchila. It's kind of a very weird situation. It's almost
but we don't
like
have an option.
Echtash, Amanash, Usher, whatever that.
No, but this is a way of getting the right proportion.
Yeah, but it's like, a little
Okay.
shtick kind of way.
How would they know? That's the minute.
I'm not sure.
Bitachon.
I'm not sure. How do they know when it took root? I'm not sure. Maybe they planted it on different days. Maybe there's a certain amount of time. I think 3 days or something after planting it takes root. Now, or they had the sensors in the ground, the new modern Israeli sensors that they tell you when it needs watering. Yeah, now they have sensors in the soil. Let's say when it's dry and when the sprinkler should go on. Yeah. The same sensors that sing music to the strawberries. Okay. So it's
It only
Marallah.
plays one song. Strawberry Field Forever.
Oh, sure. I mean, let's.
It's Marallah. Rav Shmuel Bar Nachmani Rav Naftali didn't even hear it. So
Naftali, it only plays Strawberry Fields Forever by the Beatles.
I know the song.
Yeah, nobody reacted to the.
I just don't know the censors that play music. What was that about?
no, they have these new things where the people think that if you play music to the plants, they grow better. So they have these
There was Paul McCartney.
like speakers in the fields. Anyway,
Yeah, instead of saying S my kind, it's Esef my kind.
Asif. So I'm Rav Shmuel Bar Nachmani, I'm Rav Yechon, and the problem is that we have Rav Shmuel Bar Nachmani, I'm Rav Yechon, and I'm Rav Yechon. Allah Rav Shimon Shazuri. We already have a statement. Allah Shimon Shazuri. And if it's true that this is what Ula was talking about in the name of Rav Chanina, let him say the same thing over here. We'd say Rav Yechon and Ula and Rav Chanina. Elam Rav Papa Ashida. Rav Nachman Yitzchak Amar Yayin. We have another possibility of what the halacha, when we said the halacha of Shimon Shazuri, what it's referring to. We have Rav Papa's case, and we have Rav Nachman Bar Yitzchak's case. Rav Papa, Rav Papa says that he's talking about a box. Normally any vessel could become tummy. So if someone tummy touches a vessel, it becomes tummy. However, there's an exception to that. If there's a very large vessel that's stationary, like a large cabinet that you leave, you don't move it. It's not considered a vessel anymore. It's considered like permanent. It's a fixture. That's the type of thing that gets
with the house.
I think that's the thing that gets sold with the house. These big things, because they're not movable, it's not considered a vessel. Well, the Tanana was taught in the Mishnah. Ashida, if you have a large box that's able to hold 40 sa, if it's meant to hold liquid, then it would be 60 sa, which is 2 kurayim, 2 core. Each core is 30 sa. It's meant to hold dry measures, then it's 40 sa. Yeah, I'm sorry, the opposite. 40 sa if it's liquid, which is 60 sa if it's dry. If it's that size, then we say that it's not movable and it's considered a fixture. It doesn't become tummy.
Like an above the ground mikvah.
Yeah. Nah, nashida bishamayim nededes mi bifnim. I was just in a place where they had a mikveh that they made it out of a septic tanks, the big cement thing. So that theoretically, that could be a mikveh. I mean, you paint it, you make it look nice, whatever. But problem is that it's made into a container before it's inserted. That's a problem. It has to be inserted. It has to be, the hole has to be there, and then you would pour it inside, and then this. But if you could make a hole in that and attach it to another well, and you could have an easy mikveh, like a quick mikveh. You just get Home Depot, deliver a septic thing. Then you can put on the side the bar with the hole in the water. You let the water mix, and you have a proper thing. The one on the side could be whatever, not the cleanest. It's very hard to get a portable mikveh. It's too complicated.
We'll send it to you. Go anyway.
They bring mikvah and then they stop and they take out the holes and they go and put it in the ground. So just imagine.
It's very hard to do. But anyway, this is a large container. A large container that's not movable, it doesn't become tummy. Now the question is, how do you measure this container? Do you measure just the inside, or do you measure from the outside? So bishama yamrim nimdedes mi bifnim. You measure the inside contents, what it can contain, and it's considered if it can contain 40 sub. No, we're not measuring what it contains inside. We're measuring is if it's movable. If it's movable, then it would have to do with the outside also. So you can measure it from the outside. If it's that big that it's 40 sa or 60 sa, depending on liquid or dry, so then you can measure from the outside. But both of them would agree. Everyone agree that the thickness of the feet that are coming out on the bottom of this cabinet, that doesn't count. We're just the actual where the contents go. That's what we'll be measuring. Rabbi Yossi says no. Actually, the thickness of the feet is also counted because that also makes it that it's not movable. It's heavier. But what we do say is that between the feet, because it's elevated a little bit, we don't count that as part of the area because that has not even material, right? That's not even the thickness of it. That's Rabbi Yossi. Well, Reb Shimon Shizuri, Reb Shimon Shizuri says it depends. If the feet were 1 tefach off the ground, and you don't count what's between them. However, if it's imlav, if it's within a tefach of the ground, then you do count. You count the feet. You count. It all goes under one category, and you measure the whole thing all together. Well, we have a statement of Reb Shimon Shizuri, and maybe this is what. But when we said Rabbi Ula says name Reb Chanina, Reb Shimon Shizuri is probably talking about this. This is what Reb Papa says. Reb Nachman Bar Yitzchak Amar Yayin. Reb Nachman Yitzchak says that Ula and Reb Chanina were referring to Reb Shimon Shizuri that spoke about wine. The Tanan started in the Mishnah. Reb Meir says Shemen Tchila Lailam. Talking about over here the 7 liquids that are. 7 fluids that are considered susceptible to tumah. Yeah. So what are they? There's yad, shachat, dam. That's the Rosh Tevis. Yad, shachat, dam. Yayin, devash, shemen, cholav, tal, and dam, and mayim. Yeah. That's wine, honey, oil, milk, dew, blood, and water. All of those are the 7 liquids. Well, comes along our Mishnah. It says, Reb Meir says, Shemen tchila loilam. If anyone was ever tamei, and any sort of tumah, and he touches oil, the oil doesn't become an offshoot of the tumah that the person was. It always goes down one step. Rather, it jumps back to being a rishon. That's the rule by mashkin. If it's a mashkin, if it's considered a liquid that's susceptible, it jumps back to an earlier tumah. It becomes a rishon again. Whereas if the person was a rishon and he touched you, would think it would become a sheni. If it was a sheni he touched you, it would become a shlishi for truma. If it was truma, but no, it goes back to being a rishon.
If the person was an Abba,
Then it's a rishon anyway. Then it'd be a rishon.
But we learned by mattress that
By medrash. If he sat on a thing, it stays the same. But yeah, he's not sitting on oil. Oil is not something you sit on.
slip on.
Okay.
So this is different from all the other halakas of Tumah. You go up and set it down.
Special gzeira by mashkin. It's a gzeira on mashkin that it's tchila, that it's always a rishon.
Is it the Gezerah de Rabbanan?
Yeah. Gzeira
It's
d'Rabbanan.
here.
And why did they do it? Do you know?
I think because it was so common,
Gotcha.
and I don't remember.
Hmm.
I don't remember. What is that?
It's just
So, Reb Shimon, where are we holding? We have Chachamim Maimrim. Reb Meir said Shemen. Chachamim Aftavash is Chacham say honey also. Reb Shimon Shizuri Aimer Afa Yayin. Shimon Shizuri says also wine. All of these would become a tchila. Gemara is surprised. It says Mechlal the Tanakama Saver Yayin Lai. What does that mean? That the Chachamim say they only say the Tanakama or Reb Meir and Chacham, they hold that wine isn't considered a mashkin. Ema Reb Shimon Shizuri Emer Yayin. Rather, adjust this to say Reb Shimon Shizuri not also wine, but wine. In other words, he's arguing with them, saying they say wine, they say oil and honey, and he argues. He says not oil and honey, only wine, not also wine, but only wine. So he's arguing on them. Well, and according to this, Reb Chanina says Allah is like Reb Shimon Shizuri. Okay, Tanya. Start in the Brisa. Omer Reb Shimon Shizuri. Let's see what the Gimel is.
Just Shimon Shazur's getting a lot of play here.
Yeah.
Good agent. Big donation.
Shimon Shizuri. Okay.
Getting paid for it.
Yeah, that's right. Reb Shimon Shizuri. Pamach Nisarvli Tevel B'chulin. One time I mixed up tevel, which was unfixed grain. Here I happen to be talking about that it's demai, that it wasn't real unfixed grain. It was just he got it from someone that wasn't trusted. But it got mixed up with this chulin. Ubasi b'shalti es Reb Tarfon. Came to ask Reb Tarfon. Amar Li, who told me that he's a student of Reb Tarfon? That's how we used quoted. Yeah, Amar Li said to me, Lech kach lach min hashuk v'asher alav. He said, don't worry about that. You can fix it. You could refix it. You see, before when we had a mixture, we had the tithe, the truma that was already taken. Then it fell in. Now I have a problem. My whole mixture becomes the status of the thing. I can't sell it. I can't. But the original, because who can eat it? Only a kayan. Okay.
Gotcha. House.
Okay. Yeah. So. No, you're at a shoulder. Yeah. So, Abasi v'shalti es Reb Tarfon. I came to you could buy grain from the market, v'aser alav, and then take meiser on it, and then you'll fix the whole thing because you could redo it, fix the whole thing. Now, Kashavar, he must hold. The Shittim Knesset takes out the words "deiraisa beruba batal." Takes out those words. He says what he wants to say is because somebody else Reiv Amiyaretz master name. Majority of the people take Meiser. Yeah. An idolater or an ignoramus?
Before, the other example said ignorance. Here said idolater.
No, you're jumping again. Yeah. That's going to be in the next case. Take it easy. Oh, yeah, you're jumping. He said, Reiv Amiyaretz master name. Does the majority?
Fast.
Of the majority, there's a discussion about how serious is the might. Do we think that the majority of the Amiyaretz took the Meiser, or the majority didn't take the Meiser? He's saying now that probably he holds that Reiv Amiyaretz Master. Most people do take the Meiser. V'havalei k'toirim min ha'ptur ala ptur. What he's saying is like this. It's probably good anyway. He buys the grain again from the same guy, and he's going to take Meiser. So you take Meiser from the new grain that you bought, and you want it to cover also the mixture, the grain that fell into the mixture. So what's going to happen is both of them are pater. Really, both are pater. We're strict, but really both are paters. It's okay. We can be lenient like that and say that really both are pater, so they're both covered. Mara asks, why doesn't he say to buy from an idolater, and that would really be pater, and then you're taking from min aptur. No, I'm sorry. That's pater midaraisa chayiv midarabanan, and then it will be the same. He says no, you can't do that because kosavar ein kinyan levid chavim beretz Yisrael aftim miyad meiser babelei minachiyav ala pater. He was very careful to say kach min hashuk, which that meant buy from an Amaretz. If he says buy from a non-Jew, then you would have two grains here with different status. In the different status, you can't take a meiser from one on the other, because this would be min hachiyav, because the non-Jew that owns land in Israel is a machlekes. If we say that produce is exempt from meiser or not, it's machlekes. So he must hold of that opinion that holds that it's chayiv in meiser, because it's still growing in Israel, even though the land belongs to a non-Jew. It still has the obligation. Ikadamri, there are those that said this Gemara exactly the opposite. He tells him, no, buy from an idolater. Why does he say that? He says because it's not chayiv, it's pater. And then it's from what's exempt. It says, why doesn't he just tell him to buy from the marketplace? Over there will be the same thing that what he has. It says, we said, no, that would be a problem. We don't know, we really don't know if Meiser was taken. So maybe some yes and some no. That would become a problem. Okay.
Nowadays, this is all we still do it the Rabbanan from the
Amiyaretz?
No, if you buy some.
Oh, you're talking about if it's from a non-Jew?
And from a Jew. Like when you go through Ben Yehuda's shuk, and they're selling all those grains.
Right.
If you buy a bag of that, do you have to take maser of it?
What they always recommend is that you buy from the ones that have the hechsher on it.
Right. That means it's already had maser taken.
Yeah. Yeah, if it has the hechsher on it, then you're good.
It's like challah in them.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the whole thing. We had someone that was converting, and they took a trip to Israel, and they were already started to keep kosher, and went to Israel. They said but he said we have to be careful in Israel about the kashrus also, just because it says in Hebrew. Anyway, they came back. They said we were very careful in Israel. We only ate fruits and vegetables. We didn't eat any of the meat or anything like that. They said, no, you got it all wrong. The meat was fine. It's the fruits and vegetables. That's the shaila in Eretz Yisrael. It's exactly the opposite. So you have to Fruits and vegetables need a hechsher.
Those people are very.
Okay. Shalach le Rav Yemer bar Shalmi le Rav Papa. All right. Yemer bar Shalmi sent to Rav Papa. Adam Ravan bar Chinan Amarulam Rav Chanina halacha Rav Shimon Shazuri. This that Ravan bar Chinana says in the name of Ula, that says in the name of Chanina halacha, like Rav Shimon Shazuri. And not only that, but whenever the halacha is like, whenever it says Rav Shimon Shazuri, the halacha is always like them. Was this af ben Isar b'lei tevel b'chulin? Was this also regarding this last case that we just mentioned, where we said that Rav Shimon Shazuri says that one time this happened, he asked Rav Tarfon, and Rav Tarfon tells him what to do, that he takes it again. Amalayin. So Rav Papa says yes. Amar Rav Ashi, Amali Mar Zutra. Rav Ashi says, Mar Zutra told me, Kashi bar Rav Chanina Misura. Rav Chanina Misura had a big problem with this question that Rav Yemar, with what the Rav Papa answered. It says Pshita. It's obvious. Mika Amar b'Mishnah Seinu. Did Rab Chanina say that the halacha is like Rab Shimon in the Mishnah? Kol makom sheshana kamar. It says anywhere where he taught. So which would mean, if it would say b'Mishnah Seinu, that would mean specifically a Mishnah. It's really not a question on Rav Papa, it's really a question on Rav Yemer bar Shalmi. Why did he have a doubt about this? Because he said kol makom sheshana. Shana means anywhere where he taught in either a Mishnah or a Brisa. Mishnah Seinu would mean specifically a Mishnah. It's really anywhere where it was taught. So that would it would mean that it was even in the Brisa. The last case that we mentioned was a Brisa, not a Mishnah. Okay, we're going back to Hilchos Sefer Torah. Amar Rav Zira, Amar Rav Chananel, Amar Rav Kara Haba b'shnei shitin. You have a statement in the name of Rav. If the Sefer Torah was torn and the tear went in between two lines, it says Yitbar, you can sew it up. However, B'shalesh went into 3 lines, Al Yitbar. Then you shouldn't sew it up. Rather, you should remove the whole thing.
The whole page?
Yeah, the whole page, the whole parchment. Seeing over here in this comment about the halacha, it's machlekes shach and taz if you're allowed to read from a Sefer Torah that has a tear in it. If the tear goes in the margin, then it's okay. But if the tear is going through a line, the shach says that you're not allowed to read from it, even if it's just one line. And the Taz says that even if 2 lines are torn, you're allowed to read from it. And what our Gemara is referring to is just about fixing it, not about if you're allowed to or not. Here it says, if it goes through 2 lines, you could fix it. Shalish al yitrose, then you can't fix it. Talking about where the tear went between the letters, not actually tore a letter. If it tore a letter, then that would be a different story. In
between the letters of the same word.
Right.
If it went in between the letters, that should, I don't think that's the problem. If the tear goes down between 2 words, a line or 2, that's still okay. It's okay.
Could be. Maybe that would be the machlekes here. Yeah. Right. Amalei Rabbi Zuti the Rabashi. Hachi Amar Rabbi Yirmiyah midiftim shmei de Rava. Rabbi Zuti says to Rabashi, this is what was said in the name of Rava, Hadam Rinan, that B'shali shal yitva, this that we said, that if it went between, if the tear tore 3 lines, that it can't be sewn up, that's only if the parchment is old and it's not going to look good. But if it's a new parchment, it's not a problem. You can tear it up. You can not tear it up. You could sew it up, even if it's in three lines. Now that's only 3 lines, but not 4 lines. The Gemara explains. We don't mean old as when we say old, we don't really mean old. When we say new, we don't really mean new. Allah, what's the difference between old and new? The leya fitzan, hada fitzan. It depends if you used a certain type of solution.
Galnut.
Galnut. Fitzan is the galnuts. Gallnuts. That there was a. You have it in your backyard?
What?
It's something that was used in the for the parchment. So what happens is, if you use the gallnuts, so then it becomes a little bit darker. So even if it's new, it's considered old, because it's going to look bad if it was torn. Okay. Then the Gemara says, "V'hani mili begidin, aval begrodin loy." When are you allowed to sew up Sefer Torah? That's only if you're using the sinews of an animal, but you can't use actual thread, regular thread. You can't use that to sew it up.
Wait, what's the problem, excuse me, with the non-galnut?
And it looks ugly when it's dark and it's resewn and it's
The pages,
the
though?
page, yeah.
But you have all these like Yemenite deerskin turrets, the copper turret. They're
Whoa,
dark.
easy with
But they're not torn. When you tear it and you and then you sew it, it looks
Then it's
worse.
gonna look
Yeah.
different.
Was vision between.
No, I'm talking about the
Oh,
dark
we heard
looking
it.
turret.
On tape.
If they let it.
Boy, Rabbi the Barabba. Rabbi the Barabba says.
Very dark. Yeah,
Says if it was torn being daf ladaf between 2 columns, then being shita l'shita, or it was between 2 rows, are you allowed to sew it up? Teku. So we said that was that you were allowed to. Does it mean it was torn entirely?
even
Ask me one of the
seems like even the
commentaries.
patches in this view.
I'm sorry?
Even the patches.
Was when it said it was torn, was that referring to putting on a patch? Was that the
Before it
issue?
was saying that I was reading wrong.
What does it say over here? The shalish, it's al yitvar, do not sew it. A sheet.
This says it's a machlokas between Rambam and Torah. And that's
Oh,
why
it
it's
is valid to paste the parchment patch on the back of the torn sheet since the repair is then not as readily noticeable. So it's not just sewing it up; it's putting on a patch. This is what Hillel was saying. Not just sewing it up; it's putting on the patch, and that's why it's not going to look good because the patch is going to look different than the different color. They have a blackened color if the gallnut juice was on it. And now it says that the tier goes alongside more than 3 lines, does not enter the writing itself, but between one column and another column, or the tier is between one line and another line. What's the law? So what is this talking about? Even if the tier does not start in the upper or lower margin, but there's simply a horizontal tier in between lines. Perhaps such a horizontal tier, even if it is small, cannot be sewn because it is strange for there to be a horizontal seam in a Sefer Torah. Alternatively, the inquiry refers to where the vertical tier changes direction at the end and runs horizontal in between the lines. Okay, those are options. So, in daf l'daf. I guess the whole question here, if it's a horizontal line, that's the question. Okay.
Excuse
Yeah,
me.
yeah.
Can I go back to this teku?
Yeah.
I'm a little confused how the Gemara can say teku about a issue that must come up
Right.
all the time.
Yeah. What do we say? What's the halacha when we have a takeout? Do we say in here what the halacha is?
Is that we wait till Eliyahu and nothing?
Yeah, but you can't wait if you have a torn safer, unless you put it away and get another one. You know what I mean, Rennie?
Know what you mean, Jelly Bean?
Unless it means teku and halakha, but there's a
And that-
minhag about it, so people can deal with it anyway.
Okay. It says over here, if the parchment of a Torah scroll was torn between one column and another, or between one word and another, one may repair it by sewing it. The reason for this ruling is that the dilemma is left unresolved by the Gemara, and in such instances, halacha is lenient in matters of rabbinic law. This is in accordance with the version of the text in the Rambam's possession, which reads between one word and another. Torah is stringent in this regard, and in practice, one should be stringent and not so between one word and another if the tear extends into 3 lines.
What are you reading from?
The Koran
Uh-huh.
halacha.
Thank you.
How are we explaining the Teiko in the Gemara based on Rambam, who came 700 years later, and the Torah?
He says what to do when there's a takeover. What do you do when there's a takeover?
Also,
So he says that we're lenient if it's a rabbinic law. This is a rabbinic law.
but not Rambam.
And the Tur, there's different ways of understanding this Gemara. So based on the way they understand this Gemara, if the takeover was talking about that, so then they'll be lenient. Amar Rab Ziri, Amar Shmuel, Amar Rab Ziri, Amar Chananel, Amar Rav. Mezuzah shekas v'shtayim shtayim. If a mezuzah was written that every line only has 2 words, so that's ksheira, going to be kosher.
So Noahide mezuzah, because it's 2 by 2.
2 by 2.
The animals came in 2 by 2.
Oh,
Wake up, you guys.
He's talking about the hide. Noah hide.
Well, that was the whole
Okay.
fun.
no, bomb.
These cats are still asleep Sunday night.
Bomb.
Okay, because in the Sefer
Zero.
Torah we said that you're supposed to have every line is supposed to have 3 words, 10-letter words, right? Here we said that you can write 2 words on a line. Iboilu, they asked, Shtayim, v'shalosh v'yachas. Let's say the top line has 2 words, then it has 3 words, and then it has 1 word. Ma, what's going to be the halacha over there? Amar Rav Nachman b'Yitzchak, Kolshkein, Shasa Kshera. For sure it's going to be Kshera, because you wrote it the way the song on the Shir Sayam, it looks like bricks, like one on top of another, where one extends and then the bottom, and then so for sure that's going to be kosher. Meisvei, the Gemara has a question. Asa Kshira, Shasa Kshira. I said Kshera. Shasa Kshira because he made it like the song. Meisvei Asa Kshira, but the problem is we have a brisa that says that if you wrote other works of the Torah like the song, or Shira Kamaisa, or you wrote the Shira, the song, which has like this pattern way it's written. You wrote it differently. You wrote it with in a box, straight like that. Then it's going to be psula. It says Kitan Yahi. That's the Sefer Torah. When did we say that you can't write it like the Shira that's in the Sefer Torah if it's not the Shira? But okay, it's
Well,
my.
David HaMelech got more trouble for less.
What was his trouble?
Because he was
He called the song. It's my name. Rav Nachman Yitzchak also taught. Amar Rabba bar. It was stated also like Rav Nachman Yitzchak. Amar Rabba bar Chana. Amar Rab Yechanan. Ramila. Amar Rab Acha bar Chana. Oh, I'm not familiar with it. Amar Rab Yechanan. Mezuzah Shasar Shtayim v'Shalish v'Achas. Kishera. Belvad Shli Yasen Kekuba. Mezuzah that's written with the top line 2 words, the second line 3 words, and then the bottom line 1 word, just like the way the Song of the Sea was the Shir Sayam, that's going to be kosher. However, you can't make it like a kuba, a kuba is a type of tent, which is wide on the bottom, like a teepee. It gets and you also can't do it the other way. You can't do it wide on the top and come down like a tail. Okay. Amar Rav Chizda, let's do one more. Rav Chizda says, Al haaretz b'shita achreina. The words al haaretz, kimei hashemaim al haaretz, the last words of the second paragraph of the Shema, goes on the bottom line on its own. Ikadamri b'seif hashita. Some say that no, it has to be at the end of the line. Ikadamri b'tchila shita. Some say it's at the beginning of the line. The second ikadamri means that it's on its own. The other opinion says, oh, both opinions say that it's on its own. The question is, if you write it at the beginning or write it at the end. Oh, that's so interesting. The Gemara explains, Mandam b'seif hashita, the opinion that says that you write it at the end. Gvayashmayim al aretz. Says, Himei Hashamayim ala aretz. So what you want to have the word aretz underneath the word shamayim. You put it at the end. Yeah? Put it at the end. So Mandamer b'tchila shita. The other one says you put it at the beginning of the line. Kiech de merachka shamayim aretz. It says that you'll live. Hashem will lengthen your days as the days of the heavens over the earth. So the further we can get the heavens from the earth, the more the person will live. So we have like the diagonal all the way from the end of this line to the beginning of this line. That would be even better. Okay, let's leave it over here.
So closing here, everybody knows the thing about kuzu b'mechsas kuzu in the
Right.
mezuzah. I know you know. So if you shut that off, if you take a mezuzah at home, one that you have that's not kosher, so you can look at it. When you look on the back that's empty, you see three words: kuzu b'mechsas kuzu, which doesn't mean anything as far as you would know. I mean, unless you know something, but I don't know. So, but when you hold it up to light, you see that it's written just upside down and opposite where it says Hashem Elokeinu Hashem in the first line of Shema.
Right.
Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, right? And Kuz Mesas Kuzu is one letter above each of those letters. So Yud K Vav K, one letter above Yud in the alphabet is Taf. One letter above Hey is Vav. One letter above Vav is Zayin. So that's Hespezah. So what does it mean? What's interesting is it says, this is all written in about one of the Mefarshim in the Chumash, that when Bnei Yisrael were going by into Eretz Yisrael, so it says Vayechrad. Is that what it says? Yeah, that Vayechrad Moav or
No.
What's the word? I think it's Vayechrad. It's a very unusual term for they were afraid. It could have said Vayivchad or some of this. I think the word anyway. The gematria. This is just such a fascinating thing of the word Yechrad comes to. No, not Vayechrad. What's the word? It comes to 65. It comes whatever Vayigar.
Yeah.
Vayagar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Vayagar isn't 65 though.
No, that's not
Two.
working either.
You play Sgt. Pepper's band
65.
album backwards, it says Paul's dead.
I know. Wait.
Vayakut. No, not Vayakut.
Vayagar.
Paul's
No,
dead.
wait.
Thank you.
Paul's dead.
Okay.
Yeah, we're gone. You can
Okay.
leave.
Well,
Wait.
okay.
So
Good day.
whatever it is.